Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality Adventures. We're kicking off the new year with a topic on health and spirituality. And so here's to 2021 and kicking off the new year with health talks on all kinds of things like mental health, spiritual health, physical health. And we'll be talking about health for adults and children. So I am excited to begin the new year podcast with a friend of mine, Brandon Brickley. And Brandon and I have known each other for a couple of years. He is a franchise owner in Camp Gladiator, which he's going to talk about here in a little bit. And he also is a personal trainer. And so I was thinking of all the different personal trainers that I knew. I thought of Brandon, and he is certainly a great motivator and friend. And so, Brandon, thanks for joining us today. Glad you're here. And where are you at now? In Houston?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Awesome.
Thanks, Fred.
Awesome. Well, I'd like our audience to get to know you. So why don't you start by sharing a little bit of your story, kind of your background, education, career path?
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah, so I started, never thought that I was going to end up being a personal trainer. That was probably the furthest thing from my mind growing up. And I had some kind of crazy, hard family stuff go on. And a big part of what's kind of allowed me to make it through and survive over the years has been physical fitness. So I was a swimmer all growing up, and I ended up swimming at Texas A&M. Got done with that and became a follower of Jesus during that time period. And so I was planning on going and braving the world of consulting and hopefully starting some sort of computer consulting business. And basically totally changed my trajectory after that. So ended up going to Guatemala and did some volunteer mission work there for a couple of years. And physical fitness wasn't the focus, but I became a principal of a school there. And it really continued to, kindle that flame of being excited about helping people train their physical body as a means to an end to hopefully get them in more fit spiritual condition as well. And so I got to kind of pioneer a physical fitness element to the school that we were leading, and the school was for kids that were 3 or more years behind in their studies, and so they were definitely not they weren't coming in there with the deck stacked in their favor. And one of the things that I think made probably one of the biggest impacts was them feeling that confidence that comes from, training your physical body. So I did that for a couple of years, and then family pulled me back to Austin, Texas. And my sister had started this little company called Camp Gladiator. And her goal in it was to make fitness fun, for it to impact people's lives by reminding them what it's like as an adult to actually enjoy your workout, right? To get out and have fun and play outside. And so I went and participated as a camper, is what we call our clients. So I participated as a camper for a few months when I was coming back into Austin, and really loved it and just thought, this is great. I've actually gotten to the best shape of my life. Best shape of my life was not when I was doing collegiate athletics. It was doing 5 or 6 days a week of Camp Gladiator, and that's only 5 or 6 hours, which is a small fraction of what I'd done before. And so decided to become a trainer. So got my certified personal trainer certification there in that was, I guess, 2010. So it's about 10 years ago, and I've been doing that ever since. So I've gotten to train everyone from people that are trying to lose 150, 200 pounds, people that are in their 70s and 80s, all the way to people who are in phenomenal shape. Gotten the pleasure of training some of our special forces, elite military operators, as well as collegiate and professional athletes. So wide range there.
Yeah, that's amazing. The education piece, like you were a principal of a high school, was that something that you and obviously now part of what you do is not just training but educating. Has that been something that you have had a passion for?
Yeah, I think the idea of education in the sense of instilling knowledge or wisdom, I love that concept of getting to pass that on, right? Learning something new and then getting to pass that on. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy that. I don't know that I would ever again want to be in like education per se, in like the field of education. But I do enjoy that process of learning. And then I feel like learning is it doesn't have all that much value if it stops at you. So if you're able to pass that information on, that's exciting to me.
That's excellent. Yeah. Give away what you receive kind of idea. Great. Well, I think a lot of our listeners would probably remember the TV series. What was it called?
American Gladiators.
American Gladiators. Yeah. And isn't that kind of tied into the Camp Gladiator story in some way?
It is, yeah. So I guess this was 2008. And in 2008, I was working for Deloitte Consulting. So I came straight out of school and did about a year at Deloitte Consulting. And while I was doing that, my sister met a guy and got engaged, and they were getting married. And so on her wedding day, there's 5 of us in the family. We pranked her and loaded her up in the car and took her to the tryouts for the TV show American Gladiators. They were doing a remake. So they have the one that ran in the 90s is what most people probably remember. But they did a remake for 2 years in 2007, 2008. And so we brought her out for the tryouts, and they made her run sprints, and we had her veil on and her garter was around her leg, and she's wearing athletic shorts and tennis shoes. And it was 2 hours before her hair appointment. So they let her skip the line and jump right into the front. And she ended up getting on the show and then ended up winning the whole show. So she won about $130,000 in winnings there, and used that as seed money to start the company. So that's kind of the 15 minutes of fame that allowed her to have a bit of a platform to start what's now one of the largest, fastest growing fitness companies in the nation.
Awesome. What do you have other family members that are connected to this?
Yeah, I've got a little brother named Joey, and he's kind of the prototype little brother entertainer. A lot of fun, amazing guy, and he started training, I guess, a few years after me, and he's a big, got a huge Instagram following, big personality, a lot of fun. And so he started, and he's done incredibly well. He's got a great following both in the outdoor and the virtual space as well.
Very cool. I looked up some of the people connected to Camp Gladiator, and it's quite a list of who's who in terms of some pretty well-known personalities that are either trainers with you or have trained with you. You mentioned kind of the breadth of your customer base being people who need to lose 150 to 200 pounds, to people in their 70s, to people, in elite forces. I don't know if you can let people know some of those names of people that are out there, but I think it would give people some curiosity in terms of checking into this thing. If they knew some of that.
I haven't really put together like a list of the famous gladiators.
Yeah.
One of the ones she's super impressive to me and is an amazing trainer. She's in Pflugerville, so just east of Boston. And Marion Jones, Olympian sprinter, mm-hmm. and she's got her own story of challenges and failures in her past, and it really turned the corner and has become a very impressive individual. So she trains. She's a franchise owner like I am, and trains out of the Pflugerville area, but obviously does the virtual ones as well. Now with COVID, we mm-hmm. all do virtual everything. So. Yeah. So she's an awesome one. We've had a good handful of, I don't know that any of them are like super well-known names, but we definitely have, had some incredible speakers that have come in. Emmett Smith has been caught wearing our CG logo mm-hmm. quite a few times because he came and spoke to us, and he'll wear our hat around town, which is fun to us. And we've had Carrie Walsh Jennings, she came and spoke as well. So we have a good relationship with her as a company. So we definitely have some, amazing people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Athletes. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, tell me about the training philosophy behind Camp Gladiator. How do you approach this whole physical training world? What are some of the key philosophical points that go into your work?
Yeah. Great question. I think that one of the things that differentiates us, I was just on a phone call yesterday, and somebody from a large company here in Houston was asking me, like, what is the difference between Camp Gladiator and any of the other, fitness options out there? I think the kind of practical one is that we're primarily outdoors. We're outdoors and virtual. It's a 1 hour workout, full body workout, that sort of thing. But I think the deeper side of it is that kind of the purpose behind what we're trying to do is our mission is to positively impact people's lives through physical fitness. And so a big part of the workouts is community and getting to know people out there. And someday I'll probably write a book on this topic. But people struggle, especially in the US, but really across the world, struggle with a couple different things when it relates to fitness. And one of them is just sticking with it, right? People start something and they'll stop. Or, people that have been struggling with their weight their entire life, and it just, they do the yo-yo dieting thing. You see every magazine, if you're at the grocery store, is about some new diet plan. And the reason that none of that works is because people don't change their underlying mentality when it comes to fitness and their identity. And so a big part of it is reforming your identity as a person that, maybe started 200 pounds overweight, reforming your identity as you're a type of person that works out and you do things that people that work out do. And then it naturally comes that you're going to eat better. You're going to hang out with people that are doing outdoor active type things. And so big part of, what happens when you're coming out there for the 60 minutes that you're with us is we're forcing interaction initially with the people out there. So you're getting to know people, you're getting to make friends. And then very naturally, as a byproduct to that, you're going to go and hang out and, do other activities with them. And so the people that have been training, I have some of the same people that started with me 10 years ago that still train with me today.
Oh, that's cool.
And some of those people have, these incredible stories. One of my favorite ones is a guy named Jim, and he did like a promo video for us. So he won't mind me saying some of this, but he was probably about 40, 50 pounds overweight and was a smoker, like several packs a day kind of smoker. And he started because he wanted to be able to hang out with his daughter, and his daughter was fit and she was working out with us, and she was doing Spartan races. So she's doing like obstacle course races, which is a pretty intense. That's a pretty high bar going from you're a smoker and the sedentary lifestyle to I want to do Spartan races with my daughter. And so he came out, and now most of his friend group are people that he works out with, 3 to 5 times a week. He's regularly 3, but sometimes he'll do 4 or 5. And so all of his weekend activities involve doing things that require him to be fit. He's down 40 pounds, but more importantly than that, the guy went from he could barely walk a mile on his first day, and now he's like a sub 8 mile, right? He's like
wow.
7
Nice.
mile, which is really impressive. And he's in his late 50s now, I think. But he's been training with us for
old guy,
about 6-7 years. Yeah. So, but the difference is, somebody like you, Fred, you've been active your whole life, right?
Yeah.
So that is baked into your DNA. And you've done one sport after another, but the underlying idea is that you're an athlete, right? You're fit. Mm-hmm. That's part of who you are. And so, I'm sure that informs some of your choices on a daily basis.
My fitness fluctuates, but
sure.
but yeah. No, I when I say an old guy, I'm just in the latter months of my 50s. So
yes.
Getting ready to turn the big 6-0. Well, it's interesting at the top of the year here, people are, getting motivated to maybe begin 2021. 2020 was such a crazy year with COVID and all of that, but now 2021 is upon us, and some people get tired of trying to re-up a new commitment because they've failed so many times before. But I think it's a great time to get started, try to set some new patterns in the new year. And I'm also curious about the outdoors. So like in Kansas City, obviously we are in the winter time, very challenging to work out outside in January and February. The days are still short, and some of those days can be super cold. I like the outdoors. Here's the crazy thing. So, I'm a cyclist, right? And I do not own a trainer. I will not ride a trainer inside. I don't do spin cycling. I go out and ride mountain bike even when it's 5 degrees here in Kansas City on frozen trails, because I want to be outside. Like I don't know what it is about outdoors for me, but it's such a huge part of the energy that I get from nature. whether it's a hike or cycling. I was a runner before I was a cyclist and blew my knee out snow skiing. So what is it about the outdoors that you like, and why is that a part? And how does that fit into, this Midwest cold virtual reality world that we're going to be in terms of training and stuff?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that so much of our American life, we spend trying to make our life more comfortable, and people spend, great deal of effort and money trying to make life easier and more comfortable. And think about when somebody signs up for a gym, oftentimes they're doing the tour of the gym and they're looking at, what kind of facilities they have, right? How nice is the locker room? Are there clean towels for them to use? Are there, do they have a steam room or a sauna, those sort of things? And so all of that is really focused on the wrong thing, in my opinion, if you actually want to get in shape. So you're focused on how can I make myself comfortable while I'm working out. And I think the beauty of working out outdoors in the elements is that you pull that Band-Aid off real quick, right? You go out there, you've got to get geared up mentally, that working out's not going to start out comfortable. It's going to be rewarding. It's going to be worth it, but it shouldn't be comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're probably not doing it right. So I think that's, awesome. I will tell you that I do have a trainer, and I do triathlons, and I hate riding on the trainer. It's the worst. It's so boring. It feels like it robs all the joy out of the workout experience. And so I struggle to ride consistently in the winter months, because it is really cold, and you do have to have the right gear. If you don't have the right gear, you can, if it's 5 degrees outside and you're not dressed warm enough, you're gonna have some problems. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's been quite a few psychological studies on people who spend even just like 5-10 minutes outdoors every day. Mm-hmm. And it really adds to your mental health, right? It helps you stay sane, stay healthy. Mm-hmm. So you might as well work out outside, right? Like if you've only got so many hours in a day, why would you go from an indoor office to an indoor workout? I think you're onto something there. Mm-hmm. with the riding outside. I can run outside in any weather, but the riding, that's extra chilly.
It is. Yeah, I sometimes I can't run anymore because of my bad knee, but the simplicity of running in all types of weather, I miss that, because cycling, I still do it, except when it's like, if it's like 35 and raining, I don't usually ride. And if it's like frozen ice, I actually ride in the snow, but like frozen ice, you just can't keep your bike upright. Like it's just like riding on an ice rink, and it doesn't work very well. But anyway, other than that, I'm out there. So, and I love the outdoors. I've always challenged, I think our world needs to be outdoors. I'm kind of an advocate for nature and doing things outdoors. I think people need to get off their screens and out in nature. I think there's something about it that is healthy and spiritual. Well, cool. What do you do with, I know people who don't like to exercise. They know they need to. They know it's important. It's like any other bad habit that people have developed. They know they need to quit this. They know they need to quit that. And then I've talked to people, I've lost hundreds of pounds, and they're talking about the total that they've lost over the last 10 years through all of the different ways they've tried to lose it. And I have friends and family members that would be in that category that really struggle with finding something that they love, that's healthy, that's good for them, that's exercise oriented, as well as, eating patterns and stuff. How do you reach out to that group out there?
Yeah, I think this is going to sound funny, but lower your expectations. I think that's step one. And I think people go in thinking that their first workout has to be a killer. And I'm just as bad about this as anybody. But if you've taken some time off and then you go back to do whatever it was you were doing before, lower your expectations. You know that on that first day, it's going to be hard. And your win is doing it, right? Your win is showing up. And so when people show up for their first workout with CG, I'll tell them, very likely you're only going to do 50% of the workout today. You're going to step off to the side, grab a sip of water. You're going to be kind to yourself as you're doing that first workout, especially Because what stops people is that they start with these high expectations of, I got to get 5 days a week. I've got to, I'm going to do the full hour. I'm going to be crushing it the whole time. Back in the day, I used to be able to do whatever it is. And that'll stop you, right? That'll stop you from doing it. And then on day 1 and 2 and 3, I always say your goal is just come back tomorrow. Like if you can come back tomorrow, that's a win. And so do whatever you need to today to come back tomorrow. And I found this to be true just in life in general. That if you wake up in the morning and you set the bar so high that, everything has to go right in order for you to accomplish what you would consider success for that day. This is a big problem for me just with mental health as well, is that if I set that bar so high that I have to exceed all my previous, things that I've done, right? Today has to be a record breaking day. If you have that mentality, then oftentimes you're going to fail. In fact, most days you're going to fail. And I hear in, the professional, really any type of elite athlete, they're constantly pushing that limit. But there's a place where, in order to get started, in order to be able to get anywhere, you just have to say the win is showing up, right? If I show up, that's a win. And I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I'm going to be kind to myself. And then my goal while I'm doing the workout is going to be to set myself up for success tomorrow. And if you start that pattern, then eventually you'll get to the place where you're like, okay, I naturally want to push myself a little bit more. It's way easier to push yourself after you've got a month under your belt of working out on a regular basis. But if during the first week, you say, I've got to push myself every time, you're probably going to end up injured or just, you'll feel like you were failing because you just felt gross and you weren't able to do what your high school self was able to do. And I'm sure you've experienced this. I think most people would probably look at you and be like, oh, well, Fred's, he's an incredible elite athlete. Every time he goes out, he's just killing it. But you've had times where you're not in your best shape. Right. You got to just show up.
Exactly. I was listening to a podcast with a fairly famous cardiologist here in Kansas City named Dr. O'Keefe. He's well known in the cardiology world around the country. And he was talking about, even just a 15-minute walk actually has incredible cardio benefits, like better than most any medication that he could prescribe for you, like a 15-minute walk. And so I think this is a really important point that you're making about, it sounds odd, but lowering the bar, getting a win under your belt, right? And getting a series of wins under your belt. So critical. One thing I know about you, Brandon, is that you're a great motivator. You're a really good encourager. I'm curious, how did that develop in you? You naturally encourage, you naturally motivate. That's just something I picked up from you every time I've been around you.
Well, I appreciate that, Fred. Thank you. I think I've got a pretty hard story from when I was in my late teens. I lost my entire family, and I won't get too much into the detail, but my father murdered my mother and my brother when I was 17. And today's actually the 20-year anniversary of that. And so 20 years of living with that in my past means that I've got to fight a lot of mental battles that perhaps other people do, but maybe for other reasons, right? And I never assume that, just because my story sounds big and gross, that it's, unique. I think there's a lot of people out there that have that mental struggle when they wake up in the morning. And so for me, I think that what's kept me alive and kept me moving forward, I think it's a couple of things. The first one is faith in God. And I think that my belief that there is a creator that cares about me, loves me, and that I can follow him and I can have a relationship with him. I think that's number one. And I think another big piece of it is that I've been around amazing people who've encouraged me and taken care of me. And so I have a natural inclination to want to, I feel like God's blessed me too with just the ability to see good in other people. So when somebody's doing something right, and it's very apparent to me, it's highlighted. And so I'm excited to celebrate that with them. And I think that lends itself well to what I do for a living now. I've thought multiple times, as we all do, probably as we get older, we're like, am I doing exactly what I should be doing? Right. is this the career path for me? And what keeps bringing me back to it is I feel like God built me to encourage people. And so if that's the way I'm built, then if I can be in a career where that's part of the job is to motivate, encourage, inspire, then I'm probably in a good place.
I love that. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So you have that empathy for people wherever they're at. And then that sense of pulling out the best in them, seeing the best in them. That's a great attribute for all of us, especially for the work that you do. I'm curious. So you brought up, that whole idea of how God has made you and wired you. And I'd like to, I think even though we're talking about physical health, I definitely think there's a spiritual component to it. And maybe you could expound on that just a little bit more, as you've worked with a lot of people. You've worked with hundreds of people over the many, many years that you've been doing this.
Thousands, really. Because at any one point, I've had a couple of hundred clients.
Yeah. So like you've probably seen the spiritual component at work, even though you're focusing on the physical. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'll start with where I see it in my own athletic endeavors. And I've joked about this, that my unique ability in athletics is I'm not necessarily stronger or faster, more coordinated than other people, but I can suffer with the best of them. Yeah. So I'm good at sports that require endurance of pain and suffering. And I think that may come somewhat from my background, and I think God may have just built me that way a bit as well. But one of the things that, I say that in jest, but I also think that there's something to when you get to the end of yourself and you've pushed yourself as hard as your physical body can handle, and you're mentally wanting to quit, you're wanting to give up. That there's a beautiful simplicity in talking to God at that moment. And so it kind of wipes out all the distractions. And I think a lot of times people will talk about getting there, through sickness or divorce or other hard things in their life that kind of just level you. But on a day-to-day basis, I also find that if I'm able to push myself hard in physical endeavor and get to that place where I don't have, where I'm wanting to quit, I'm wanting to stop, and that conversation with God is a really unique and powerful one for me. So that's how I experience it in some ways. The way I've seen it play out for other people is that when they come out, that everyone, and this is, it's probably even more prevalent in people that used to be athletes, right? If you were an athlete and then you gave it up for a long time, your expectations are really high for yourself because you think I should be able to do what I did back in the day. And so maybe maybe you have an injury, maybe you just have many years off, but coming out and deciding that you're going to take care of the body that God gave you, and that you're going to humble yourself. That's maybe the hardest part of the whole thing, is humble yourself to be man, I'm probably going to feel awkward. It's probably going to be, it's probably going to feel uncomfortable. And I'm going to probably feel like other people are looking at me and thinking, man, that guy is really out of shape, or that guy really looks like he let himself go, or whatever it is. Or they're going to have some sort of high expectations. What would be a challenge for me, or probably for you, Fred, would be on that first day thinking, I used to be, elite. And today I might not feel elite. I might feel like I'm less than that. And other people are going to expect me to deliver at that high level, which I've found that that's almost entirely false, because no one out there is looking at judging the other people out there. I would say that's pretty much without exception. So there's something I think in our spiritual walk as well, the ability to, with humility, say that this is not about me. This is about the other people out there. This is about me just doing the right thing and honoring God with my time, with my effort, my energy. And I think if you can show up with the attitude that I'm doing this to take care of the body God gave me, and I'm going to be grateful for it, that's a big deal.
Right.
And then I'll tell people right in the middle of the hardest part, where we're in the doing the hardest exercise and everybody's suffering, I'll say, all right, get out of your own head. I want you to focus on that person across from you. See how you can give them a great workout today. Stop focusing on yourself. And almost everybody gets selfish at those moments of pain. So
yeah, I find, and I'm sure people listening I don't know what the percentage is, maybe half the population, I don't know. But if I'm not working out, I start taking a dive mentally and spiritually if I'm not working out. The physical workout that I do mostly on the bicycle has a direct impact on my mental health and my spiritual health. And if I let it slide for too long, I literally start feeling depressed, apathetic. I mean, it's a distinct downward turn in my psyche. So I literally call what I do sometimes therapy. Like it's as good as any other kind of therapy that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of different kinds through the years. But seriously, I think something about the mind-body connection, that the wholeness of who we are, everything interrelates. Our spiritual relates to our physical relates to our mental. Everything is interconnected. And if you're out of whack in one area, it's so easy to be out of whack in other areas. And so I'm curious, like how, I wonder if other people are like that, are wired that, are all of us that way? Are the people that never exercise, have they just not experienced the upside of it? You know what I'm saying? But I think there's a percentage of the population that if they got into it long enough, they'd find out that would be true. I think the science behind the connection is very real and quite dramatic, that there is a connection. But thoughts on that?
Yeah. One of the things I really respect about you, Fred, especially in these last, few months, is I think that people probably viewed you before as that you had it all together and things were going perfect, right? I would imagine that there were people that were tempted to do that, and I think that that's in my profession. People, I think, oftentimes assume that I'm that I don't struggle with motivation because I'm a motivator. I'm like trying to motivate them, so therefore I must wake up every morning like fired up and ready to go. And I think the truth is that it's a struggle for everyone. I've not met a lot of people who don't have those ups and downs. And usually the more somebody's in a role where they're giving it away, the more important it is that they do those daily things, right? And I don't think you ever get past that. I think that's it's true in our daily spiritual walk. Somebody that's had an amazing run and has amazing stories of how God's blessed them and taken care of them. And, you could write books and books about all of the things that, God's done through you and with you. And, but it comes down to those daily choices. And, I know that for me, if I stop working out for a handful of days, that certainly for a handful of weeks, it doesn't take, I'm always real close to that ditch, right? That mental depression, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably true for most people to a greater or lesser degree. I think that maybe my ditch is a little deeper and a little closer to the road. And so it's a little more important for me to stay on the road. And I think that but I think for everybody, there's some truth in that. Mm-hmm. And I haven't met a lot of people, oftentimes people, when they start with CG, they're not coming out. They're coming out usually for, because their doctor told them to, or vanity. And I would say vanity is probably number one, right? They're like, I want to look better. And so that's why they start, and it gets them out there. That's fine. They want to look better in a swimsuit, or they want to be able to fit into their clothes that they used to be able to fit into. But very quickly it becomes exactly what you're talking about, which is this almost spiritual discipline of doing the thing that is hard. And I think that filters in all areas of life.
I agree. You mentioned the full body workout. Why is that important?
Yeah. This is a phenomenon in the fitness industry, which is, where I live, is people, when they haven't really been an athlete before, they often come into it and they'll look up, bodybuilder.com. And like I said, aesthetics is oftentimes the reason people will start, and especially for guys, but for ladies too, they tend to go towards two different extremes. One is they're going to do isolation exercises. Like you're going to go in, the two that are like the classic guy going into a gym. He's going to do curls. He's going to do bench press. Right. And then he's probably going to flex in the mirror a few times and then he'll head out. And then for ladies, a lot of times what I'll see is that they're going to use super light dumbbells. They're probably going to spend a disproportionate amount of time doing like an elliptical or something where they're just, getting their heart rate up. Mm-hmm. And I see a ton of benefits in resistance training, and there's a lot of science to back that up. And moving through the 7 primal movements. So we have what we call the 7 primal movements, and those are basically all the movement patterns that our body's meant to be able to do in order to be a functional human being. So you've got your squat, your lunge, your push, your pull. You've got the twisting movement, and then you've got a gait, which is being able to walk and run. And then hinge extend. That's the one that is the biggest problem for most people. Because if you're sitting in a chair hunched forward during the day, the ability to keep your back straight when you bow to the front, so like a deadlift. And so if you're hitting all 7 primal movements, then you're going to have a healthier body all around. If you're only doing, and no offense to cycling or triathlon, which is what I do, mm-hmm. If you're only doing that movement, then you're going to end up over time only strengthening that movement pattern, which is going to make you more prone to injury and just a less fully functional athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a part of the reason why I mix mountain biking in with my cycling so much, because with mountain biking, and I do like technical, off-road mountain biking, yes. trail rides, you do get your core, you are working your upper body because you're constantly manipulating your handlebars, you're dropping, you're jumping, you're doing, and it actually works on your balance as well. I'm sure it doesn't hit all 7, but it hits more than just, if I just gravel ride or if I just road ride, I'm really getting a very limited, great cardio, but very limited otherwise, and so.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about how things have been affected by COVID. And what does it look like to do a virtual training, in the midst of COVID, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think like everyone, COVID was, it was a wake up call to how close we are as an entire society from, just being derailed. We went from in about, 2 weeks, like everybody else did, we went from our entire business is having people meet outside together in groups and work out. And so like, obviously as soon as the quarantine hit, we couldn't do any of that. And so, to survive as a business and really to be able to continue to, the biggest thing is we have all these people that we made a commitment that we're going to serve them in that capacity. And now all of a sudden, what are we, how are we going to do that? And so we created, I have to give credit to our leadership. Jeff Davidson is my brother-in-law, and he's the CEO of the company with my sister, Allie. And, so the two of them, working together with our headquarters team, put together, we basically went completely virtual. In about 2 or 3 days, we were completely Facebook Live. And then about a week and a half, we were completely on Zoom. And the benefit of Zoom over Facebook Live is Facebook Live, you can do a chat, you can chat with somebody, but I can't see my people that I'm training.
Right.
And so who knows what they're doing over there. They could be doing the exercises completely wrong, and I'm not going to be able to fix it. Whereas Zoom, I actually have it's much more like having a personal trainer in the room with you. And as long as they set up their camera so I can see them, I'm able to correct form. I'm able to encourage. I'm able to push them. So those people that, I can tell that they're working at 70 or 80% of what they're capable of, I'm able to get that a little bit out of them. And it's been really neat. One of the things that is always sad in life when you have friends that come and go. And so they live in another town and you never see them anymore. And I had a lot of people who over 10 years trained with me and then they left, right? They went somewhere else and we didn't have Camp Gladiator there, right? We have a pretty good following, like in the Boston area, from a couple of campers that lived there, a couple of previous campers, and then they invited their friends and we ended up with like a crew. So we have these little pockets around the nation of people do virtual workouts, and many of them will bring people over and they'll all work out in their driveway together. So on some of the screens, I'm not just seeing one person, I'm seeing like a little crew of community,
and we're outdoors and you're social distancing and all those kind of things. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are some people, instead of going outdoors when getting on, with the Zoom stuff, are they doing it indoors with the Zoom, or how is that just a variety? Is it mixed? And how many people are in a typical Zoom virtual workout with you?
Yeah, it's a total huge variance. So I'll have classes sometimes, my late morning, I do kind of off times, right? Your primary times are before work and after work. So my virtual camps, I'm doing late mornings, and then I have a 5:15 p.m. So I see lots of different people, but usually I have to have a pretty flexible work schedule to do my workouts. And it's probably 50-50 on people indoor and outdoor. Some people, they'll be dressed in cold weather gear. And, obviously if we're working with somebody on the West Coast, East Coast, sometimes it'll be light out where they are, or it'll be dark, depending on the time of year, that's kind of neat to see, on the different screens, you'll see different times of day. But yeah, working out outside or inside, both work. Generally what I'm going to do is design workouts, assuming that you have dumbbells and a mat and nothing else. And if you have, other pieces of equipment, I'll throw in, like, here's what you could do if you had some bands, or if you have, a place to run, you can take off on a run now, or you could do, jumping jacks or some other exercise. So we'll mix it up based on what space the person has. But yeah, some people have, they're working out, and some people will bring their phone out to a football field and do the workout there.
Like just put it on a little stand, just stick.
Yeah, or they'll just set it on something, tape it to a fence, whatever works.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some people that are in a gym. So they're in their apartment gym or whatever it is.
Okay.
Which is it was kind of comical when people are starting to come back post COVID, because you've got, some people doing curls in the background, and then they're like, all over the place, running up and down and getting down doing burpees and bear crawls and stuff. But yeah, so it's a wide variance, and some people feel really comfortable getting out and being around people right now, as long as they're 6 foot distance. It does not bother them. They're not high risk. They're not around other people that are high risk. They've already had COVID, that sort of thing. And then other people are wanting to, like, really isolate. And so I've got some people in their 70s who they literally don't leave their house, but they still do CG in their backyard. And that's kind of their social interaction too, which is important these days to have
So the minimum amount of equipment, like you have, to do virtual, you need to have obviously your iPad or whatever, and then you set that up. You set it up in your house or outdoor somewhere. What's the minimum kind of stuff
basically
you need?
That and a pair of tennis shoes.
Okay.
It's nice to have a yoga mat, so that's an easy purchase on Amazon. And then it's definitely nice to have a set of dumbbells. And generally with dumbbells, I'll recommend that you grab a set of dumbbells initially that's on the lighter side, and then you can upgrade those as you go. So if you're looking at a guy that's my size, I'd probably say start with like 15-pound dumbbells, maybe 20s. And for some of our ladies, they're starting with 5s and then working their way up from there, because you want to get the movements down before you add too much weight. But it's really not necessary. You can do a full workout with no dumbbells. The only movement that's a little bit hard is the pull. Pulling movement's a little bit challenging, but we'll also I'll sometimes get people to grab stuff from inside their house. So, a cooking pot, you can do a lot of exercises with a cooking pot because it just gives you a little bit of elevation change. You can step up onto it. So we'll get creative. If you don't have a band, a lot of times you can do some stuff with like a beach towel. That'll work. So I try to pick, if we're going to do anything that requires like a piece of equipment, I try to have a modification for something that you might just have laying around the house.
Okay. Well, you brought up this idea of offering people free workout for a period of time, and even me and you together, or I show up with you on a Zoom meeting and people can join us. And so maybe there's some people out there listening that feel a bit motivated right now after listening, and they would like some community and they'd like some coaching. And so talk about that a little bit. What does that look like if we offer some free sessions for people?
One of the things I'm really excited about having this conversation is that I really respect and like you, Fred, and I want you to come see what I do. So so I think we're planning on doing a workout where you come to one that I'm leading.
Okay.
And then I think we do another one where you and I go participate in another trainer's workout, like where I'm doing the workout side by side, not literally, but virtually. And yeah, I think that'll be a ton of fun, and people can come and jump in there with us. And I wanted to offer any of your listeners in January, so they can come do the workouts with us. But we've got a 4-week camp that starts in January. And anybody that's on here is welcome to do that completely for free. And we'll have, I can get you the details on how they can sign up, but do an entire month of Camp Gladiator, any of our virtual locations. We have 1,000 trainers running about 3,000 different time trainer combinations. Okay. So there's one basically starting every 10 minutes all day long.
Oh, day. Wow. All right. So just give us a little bit of on-air, like how do people connect this? So first of all, this will be airing on Wednesday, January 6th. And then we're going to do I'm going to work out with you on Monday.
Yes.
January 11th. So people can join us with that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we'll get the details on how to sign that up. I guess we can throw that in
we can post it in the notes.
Shot or something.
Yeah. And I can post it on. Post it on my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that.
Yeah, I think full body workouts, all ability levels, kind of anyone wherever they're at. It'll be you could call it a intro workout, but I'm going to design it so it's still going to be a challenge for even somebody that's in great shape like you, and somebody that hasn't worked out in years. I had a guy who came out and he's become one of our avid guys. He was 69 years old when he started his first day. Couldn't do a squat, couldn't do a lunge, couldn't do a push-up. And he had his last time he worked out was when he was in his 20s and he was in the Army. And he hadn't done anything workout-wise until 69 years old. And he survived. He made it through. Now he's able to do push-up, squat, lunge. He even can do some pull-ups, which is pretty awesome in your 70s to be able to do pull-ups for the first time since you were 20. So yeah, anybody that's listening, this is totally doable from wherever you're at.
Okay. And where do they go to as far as the virtual? Will you have like a website that they go to with some type of a password or something like that, some type of a code?
Yeah, so it'll be a sign up, and I'll have a way for them to sign up for free. It'll be campgladiator.com. That's our website. So you can look around on there, and then you'll log in and sign up, and you'll be like a full-fledged member for that month. Where you can click on any trainer that's running.
And we'll provide a code for that.
Keeps wanting to say location at a time. Yeah. So there'll be a code for them to sign up, and then they'll have access to the internal portal where you'll click on, I want to do Brandon's workout at 5:15 p.m. At 5:05 p.m., 10 minutes before the workout starts, that link goes live and you can click on it and it'll bring you into the Zoom room with me. Right. So any trainer, so you basically can get on there at any time of day. It's kind of fun. So if you're like craving social interaction, or you're like, I need to work out, but I also just want to see some other people's faces because I'm in quarantine. That's pretty nice as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for doing this, Brandon. I really appreciate you taking the time to share and talk with our audience. Hopefully people are getting some thoughts about working out, setting some new goals for the new year, and working on their physical health along with how that will accompany, I think, mental and spiritual health as well.
Absolutely, Fred. Yeah, I just want to tell you thank you for, I think there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who just need to hear that it's okay to be, it's okay to be broken, to walk with a limp, to have your own story of, redemption. And I think that's, that definitely applies to my life 100%. And the ability to get back up and say, I'm not down for the count. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to move forward, and maybe with some new insight. So I've appreciated getting to follow you on what you're doing, and I love this. Honored to be on the podcast.
Thank you for doing it, kicking off the new year, 2021. So thanks everybody for tuning in to Spirituality Adventures, and we will keep you up to date on how to get connected with Brandon as well as Camp Gladiator. So thanks for tuning in, and blessings to all of you.
Harvey Media Production.